Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, so let's start with these learning points. Type A if you agree and D if you disagree. Philosophy and science share the same views about the self. A or D? Okay, so most of your answers are D. Number 2, science encompasses biological evolution of the self. Do you agree or disagree? A or D? Okay, so most of you or all of you agree that science encompasses biological evolution of the cell. Let's see about that later. And the third, science explains how environments and the context shape the cell. Agree or disagree? Science explains how environments and context shape the cell. So, ang ilan-ilan ng sagot ay D or disagree. And the fourth, science make use of scientific methodologies in conceptualizing the cell. Agree or disagree? Science make use of systematic methodologies in conceptualizing the cell. Okay, so most of you, all of you agreed on the statement. And the last statement, the physical aspect of the self is the only scientific standpoint that matters. The physical aspect of the self is the only scientific standpoint that matters. Kasi sila may mga construction workers dito. The physical aspect of the self. Agree or disagree? Yeah, so there are lots of aspects of the self, and I guess you will all agree that the physical aspect is not the only scientific standpoint that matters. Okay? So moving forward, science has invested much of its effort in understanding world phenomena, but none more so than in explaining how human beings have evolved from its basic life forms to its more complex makeup today. In a lexical definition, science is defined as the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. Kaya nga siya systematic in the sense that there are methodologies that we use to prove or to disprove our claims or our view. Thus, attempts to explain self have been made from the perspective of scientific methods. Scientific approaches to the study of the self is twofold. So meron tayong dalawang fold in understanding the scientific self. Number one is the physical self. Number two, it's the social sciences. So we have the physical science and the social science. The physical sciences focus on biological factors. Biological factors that make up human being, body, the underlying growth, maturational mechanism of people, and environmental influences that contribute to human development, central focus of which is the self. And the social science naman is concerned with the society, interpersonal relationship of people living within society. So the focus of the physical science is on the physiology, anatomy and physiology of a human person, while the social sciences focus on the influences of the social environment. Now, science has made sufficient advances in explaining human beings in the biological context, and later on, in the next module, we will be discussing it in a more concise. The human body has been explained from the number of scientific standpoint. From biological perspective, genetics has been studied extensively by scientists and doctors on how genes from both parents contribute to the characteristics of their offspring. Which means na tayo bilang mga individuals ay totoong affected or influenced ng biological lens na ito. The study of human body from physical perspective has paved the way for a fuller understanding of the self as consciousness deemed to be a fundamental core of the self is influenced by the inner dynamics and environment. Ayan. So what are the breakthrough in the biological science when it comes to the study of the self? New breakthroughs in the understanding of the self has resulted in the emergence of new scientific field of study. The first scientific study is called neurophilosophy. Yan, medyo nakakalito kasi may philosophy na alam naman natin na just based on assumptions and principles. While neuro, no, may kinalaman naman ito sa biological aspect of the self. The neurophilosophy is attributed to Paul and Patricia Churchland, which is concerned with the association of the brain and the mind. So I want you to focus on the brain and the mind. According to Churchland, no, magkaiba itong brain and mind. In order to understand the workings of the human mind, we must first understand the brain, its functions, and wave activity. So the structure is the brain, but the function, the purpose is the mind. No? They further argue that philosophical notion of free will, common sense, and conscientiousness must be able to explain it in the context of neuroscience, as advances in this field seemingly converge with how people think, feel, and behave. So, in the primitive ideas, no, ang free will, common sense, ay hindi siya observable, hindi siya measurable, and therefore, it cannot be studied empirically. However, in the latest breakthroughs, no, pagdating sa understanding nito mga to, merong specific part of the brain that is concerned with free will, common sense, and conscientiousness. And therefore, it could be studied biologically or physically. In the context of self, our consciousness, worldview, belief, and other human attributes are distinctly connected to our brain physiology and functioning. Because of the many studies about brain and its structure and function, no, marami ng mga pag-aaral na meron palang connection sa physiological system natin, no, itong ating yung mga dating pinaniniwalaan na abstract concepts like consciousness and belief. Okay? So that is the advancement in neurophilosophy. And then we have the second, neuroimmunology. It draws its assumption from how our immune system function, similar to the shaping of the self. So lalo na sa panahon ngayon because of the pandemic, no, napakalaki ng influence ng understanding natin yung actions natin sa ating immune system. Sometimes, kahit na wala ka namang sakit, but because you are thinking that you have, then it influences your health. So naapektuhan ang iyong immune system. In the context of the immune system, the human bodies reject foreign matter that can harm our bodies and build up on the existing molecules, leading to a healthy bodily system. Okay. However, there are times when foreign matters that enters our system can be helpful for our bodily maintenance and become a permanent fixture within the body. So, kaya nga sinasabihan tayo, di ba, minum ng vitamins, mga food supplement. These are external Okay, so these are coming from the outside world of the system that helps us naman to improve our body functioning. In discovering ourselves, we are likely to imbibe external experiences that are seen to be helpful to us and reject those that we do not like or those we do not derive pleasure from. So that's the psychoneuroimmunology. So these two, the neurophilosophy and the psychoneuroimmunology, are both part of the physical science that focuses on the understanding of the self. And now we move on to the social sciences. So in the social sciences, it has devoted much of its time in understanding human functioning in the context of society and social institutions. So kasama dito yung psychology, sociology, anthropology, politics, economics, and others like history, even geography, that contributes not to the development of ourselves. Psychology is the scientific study of behavior and human mental processes that is very much concerned with the self. Psychology proposes a lot of theories that would explain how the self is developed and improved. So kasama na dito yung iba't ibang mga theories of personality ni Sigmund Freud, ni Carl Jung, ni Adler, Erik Erikson, Maslow, Carl Rogers, and other theories. And in many psychological theories, the term self has been used as predicate of all several psychological constructs like self-awareness, self-construal, self-esteem, self-efficacy, self-regulation, and others. So kaya nga we are talking about self-concept. How do you view yourself? Self-valuation. How do you give importance to yourself? Such usages of the term indicate not only an acceptance of its existence, but it signifies the importance of characterizing human psychological and personal attributes. Okay? And then, sociology naman, since psychology is focused on the individual development, ang sociology naman is focused on the collective behavior of people within the society and focuses on social problems encountered by people. It does not see the individual on its own. Unlike in psychology, yan, nakafocus sa individual. How an individual develop from its system. So sociology naman, how an individual develops in relation to other social factors. How social institution and social relationship within society create an impact on his thoughts, feelings, and behavior. So it provides tools for understanding human experience and how society shape the person and vice versa. Like, for example, ikaw lang iba't ibang maskara ang sinusuot mo sa iba't ibang mga pagkakataon. Ibang behavior mo kapag kaharap mo ay parents mo. Iba din kapag ang mga kaharap mo mga kapatid mo. Iba rin kapag ang kaharap mo ay mga best friends mo, boyfriend mo, o girlfriend mo. O kaya naman yung mga close friends o yung mga matatagal mo ng kasama o yung mga tinatawag na natin ng mga kabagang. Ibig sabihin nito, magkakaiba tayo ng presentation of self depending on who we are with. Okay? So that's how our self develops. And then aside from sociology, nandiyan din yung anthropology. No? Anthro means man. So anthropology is the study of human beings. So in the context of studying the self, it provides the lens of the developmental advancement society has made and it has impacted generation who existed within that society. Kaya nga di ba nakakatuwa pag nakikita natin yung mga lumang litrato sa FB na halimbawa ng Manila, ng mga itsura ng mga Pilipino noong 1980s, noong 1990s. Yan, kayo mga batang 90s na kayo no? So yung mga itsura ng mga ano natin noong 1970s and 1960s, no, iba. Depende ito sa nangyayaring pagbabago din sa at itong experiences na ito ng ating mga ninuno ay meron ding kinalaman sa development ng self natin ngayon. And then we also have the political science. Ako, napaka-political pa naman ng mga Pilipino. We are very much interested pag politika pinag-uusapan. We'd like to be involved, di ba? It is concerned with participation of individual in establishing government and political choices. Kaya nga kayo, ngayon na kayo ay nasa age, voting age, di ba? Gawin niyo yung part ninyo. Pumili kayo ng mga tao na sa tingin natin talaga ay makakatulong at hindi magpapayaman lamang. Okay, so itong political science na to napakalaki ng influensya nito sa development ng self. Kaya ang daming mga tao na katulad din niyo dati na idealistic pero nung nandoon na sa politika, kinain na ng sistema. Di ba? Unti-unti ay nahirati na rin sa maling gawa ng mga nauna sa kanila na dati ay kinokondemn nila, di ba? So nakain na tayo ng sistema na yan. So our self is also shaped by our political choices. No? So kumbaga sa politika nga panapanahon lang, weather lang. And then economics. Paano nakaka-apekto ang economics sa self natin? Well, it has something to do with how we distribute, produce, and consume goods and services. Halimbawa, yung mga sinusuot natin, yung mga gamit natin, na merong economic implication. Meron dyan, ang dami, ang gaganda ng mga cellphone, pero wala namang mga load. Di ba? Okay, may mga mayayaman, pero ang cellphone, yung mga luma pang cellphone. So, it has something to do with how we see ourselves in relation to the material things that we are getting or we are having. So these are the social sciences that affects ourselves, no? Psychology, anthropology, sociology, and political science and economics. Okay? So type in your answers. Do our physical bodies define who we are? Yes or no? 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 Okay, so halos lahat kayo I know. But like what I've said sa mga una nating discussion, ang physical bodies natin ay may malaking impact sa kung sino tayo. Like for example, if you were born with disabilities like wala kang kamay, wala kang siko, would you still be who you are right now? Di ba may mga pagbabago din na magaganap sa atin because of the physical bodies that we have. Okay, ang sabi ni Francis, maybe it's because of experience na rin while growing with these physical bodies. Yes, that's true. That is why may malaking impact itong physical bodies na ito sa kung sino tayo. Hindi ba? Imagine, no, may mga tao, lalo na kayo mga kabataan, inisip niya, sana maging ganun ako katulad ni ganito. Okay? But not realizing na itong mga taong to, gusto rin nila maging tayo naman. No? Kumbaga merong shift of roles. That is because kanya-kanya tayo ng experiences. No? Hindi lahat ng mga may magagandang katawan, itsura ay masaya sa nangyayari sa kanila. In the same manner, no, tayo ng mga pinagkaitan ng itsura, hindi masyadong kagandahan, ay maaaring masaya na tayo sa kung ano yung meron tayo. Okay? Number 2 question. Do our societal identities change? Nagbabago ba yung ating societal identity? Yes, no, it does change. No, it changed based on the influence of different factors, no? Halimbawa, yung for example, may mga kultura, katulad ng kultura natin, malaki yung pagpapahalaga natin sa ating mga pets. Diba? Sa mga aso, sa mga pusa, sa mga ibon na alaga natin. No, na minsan ay talagang mas masarap pa yung ulam nila kaysa sa ulam natin. Mas komportable sila sa higaan nila kaysa sa atin. Subalit, ganun yung pagpapahalaga natin kasi bahagi yun ng kultura natin. Pero sa ibang kultura, maaring ang aso ay hindi pet. Ito ay maaring pagkain nila. Di ba? So it would be harsh for us, no, to see people killing dogs. Kasi nga, hindi dapat gano'n na ginagawa sa mga aso. Pero in their culture, it's a matter of survival. Okay? So yung societal identities natin ay nagbabago din depending on the culture we are in. Yan. Kaya meron tayong tinatawag na cultural relativism. What may be good for you may not be good for others. Like for example, merong ibang mga kultura, hindi ba, na kapag namatayan sila, diretso cremate. Ngayon nga lang, di ba, pag nag-positive, diretso cremate na. Okay, so, ibig lang sabihin nito, meron ng mga kultura naman na kapag namatay, halimbawa yung kanilang tatay, they are eating the internal organs para daw manatili sa kanilang katawan yung espiritu ng namatay. So, siguro sa atin, madali natin matanggap yung cremation. No? Pero dun sa mga kumakain, ayaw nila ng gano'n na sinusunog yung katawan. Na pero, para doon naman sa nagpa-cremate, ayaw naman nila na kinakain. No? It has something to do with the belief system of an individual within the society that forms how we view the self. Okay? To what extent the society shape ourselves and identity. Di ba? Napakalaki ng influensya ng society natin sa pagbabago ng ating self and identity. Kaya nga importante sa atin yung ating history. Di ba? When you are in a group, tapos nalaman mo na hindi ka pala member ng angkan na yan, you will be looking for your biological parent as part of your identity. No? Because that would complete you, sabi nga nila. So yung history natin would help us to be complete. Okay, of course, that depends on how you view your life. Okay? Yan. So, let's move to another topic na dun sa ating unfolding of the biological self. Dito na tayo sa biological self. Hello? Okay. So dito, kailangan yung aking wifi. Okay. Ayan. So we will now be discussing about the biological cell. So in this module, we have 2 units. First, we will be discussing the physical dimensions of the cell, which is very much related dun sa kadidiscuss lang natin na issue. And then, we'll also be discussing about the sexual dimension of the self, which will explain sexual characteristics and attributes of adolescents and adults. Okay? Mm-hmm. Yan. Okay? So at the end of this, you are expected to discuss and elaborate concepts associated with heredity and maturation. Identify biological and environmental factors that shape the physical self. Analyze and evaluate issues associated with physical being. Okay, agree or disagree? Again, A or D? The physical self goes through changes in one's lifetime. Agree or disagree? Ayan. So, all of you answered A. Dahil totoo naman, no? Sa lifetime natin, tuloy-tuloy ang physical change. No? At yung iba is intentional pa yung change na ginagawa. At kahit na hindi naman intentional, meron at meron nagbabago sa atin. Di ba? Pwedeng nag-iiba yung kulay ng buhok, namumuti. Pwede rin naman nakakalbo or tumatangkad or kumukulubot ang skin. Ano yan, no? Hindi yan may iwasan. Okay, next. Our parents and relatives are the sole sources of our genetic makeup. Totoo ba? Do you agree with this? Na yung parents, sa mga kamag-anak natin lang nanggaling yung genetic makeup natin? Wala na bang ibang pinanggalingan yan? No? Kasi siyempre yung um, genetic makeup nila ay nakakapag-contribute sa self natin. And almost all of you agreed, merong iilan na. Hindi, this will be answered in a while. And then, third, adolescents' physical development vary. Totoo ba to? Agree or disagree? Okay, magkakaiba naman talaga ang physical development. Di ba? Yun ang bilis ng paglaki ninyo, iba-iba eh. Yung iba mula pagkabata, hindi na lumaki. Okay, at yung iba naman, yung katawan hindi pa nagbabago, parang baby pa rin ang itsura. So, at nagde-develop yan, may mga tinatawag tayong late bloomers sa ating. And then, fourth, there are relative standards in beauty. Agree or disagree? There are relative standards in beauty. Since physical self ito, siyempre, hindi maiwasan yung pag-discuss tungkol sa beauty or our view of beauty. And last, each individual has a unique DNA. Okay? Unique ba ang DNA ng bawat isang tao? Yan. Of course, di ba? Ito nga ang madalas na nagiging basis natin para malaman natin kung mag-anak natin. No? Because of the DNA matching. And there is no two individual that is exactly alike. That makes our DNA even more unique. Okay? Yan. So let's now start. A crucial aspect of the self is the physical feature. People are often perceived initially by their physical feature. Di ba? Kaya, ay, kilala mo ba si ganito? Yung matangkad, yung mataba, yung payat, yung matangos ang ilong, yung kalbo, okay, yung yung makapalang kilay, or yung walang kilay. Yan. We are perceived by our physical features, which includes face, bodily structure, height, weight, and fitness. However, more than physical attributes as persons possesses, people should also consider their physical competencies, their valuation of physical worth, and their perception of beauty. Sa madalas na pagkakataon, minamaliit natin ang sarili nating itsura o sarili nating katawan. Nakakalimutan natin yung mga physical competencies, yung kaya mong gawin, gaano ka ba kalakas. Okay, valuation. How valuable do you see yourself? And yung perception mo of beauty. Diba? Iba-iba yung perception natin ng beauty. What may be beautiful to you may not be beautiful for others. So, ano pa rin siya? Isa pa rin sa mga factors na dapat nating i-consider, no? Para makita natin properly ang self. So, dito sa unit na to, we'll be discussing the physical self, including the biological and environmental factors that will, and at the end of this, we will look into physical health, hygiene, nutrition, standards of beauty, and other cultural factors. Okay? So, yeah. So yung ating biological blueprint, madalas sa pagkakataon humarap sa salamin, dumarating din yung time na tinatanong mo yung sarili mo na, maganda ba ako? Or pogi ba ako? Do people find me attractive? Or what can I do para ma-enhance ko yung aking features? These questions underlie our physical self, which embodies our physical appearance. What we see in the mirror and what often triggers people's first impressions of others. However, our physical self is not only limited to what can be directly seen by the naked eye. Dahil meron tayong physical self that are underneath our skin, the dynamics of our biological and chemical processes that contribute to our physical feature. So, napaka-importante ng role ng heredity na halos every meeting pinag-uusapan natin. Sabi ko nga, hindi kayo magtaka, dapat magtaka na kamukha niyo yung nanay o tatay ninyo. Okay, at minsan naman, mas malamang yung kamukha mo yung nanay mo or yung tatay mo. This can be attributed to the concept of genotype and phenotype. The genotype refers to the specific information embedded. So, kumbaga yan yung program, naka-program for you, na nandoon sa ating genes. But not all genotypes translates to an observed physical characteristics. On the other hand, the phenotype is the physical expression of a particular trait. Okay? So, kung ito yung, kumbaga, yung genotype yung plano, yung phenotype yung execution ng plano. So, ang normal individual ay merong 46 chromosomes. Okay? So, dun sa 46 chromosomes na yun, ang parents natin ay nag-contribute ng tig 23 chromosomes. Okay? So, tig 23 chromosomes at yung 22 dun sa 23 ay tinatawag natin na autosomes. At yung last pair, no, yung pang 23rd pair, yun naman yung sex chromosomes. Okay? The question is, which sex cell contributes or determine the sex of the fetus? Aling sex cell ang nagdetermine ng sex ng fetus? Yun nga. Isagot po tayo dyan. Which sex cell contributes doon sa aling sex cells? Ano ba mga sex cells natin? Siyempre, nandiyan yung sperm at saka yung egg cell. Egg. And tama si Romo. It's the sperm cell that dictates kung ano yung magiging sex ng baby. Dahil sa ang female sex cells ay X and X lang eh. So wala siyang ibang may contribute kundi X. While sa male, meron siyang X and Y. So kapag ang kinontribute ng sperm ay X sex chromosomes, yan, babae ang magiging baby. Kapag kinontribute naman niya ay ang Y chromosome, magiging lalaki naman ang baby. Okay? So, ang tanong, saan ba nanggagaling ang sperm cell? Paki-type in yung aming sagot. Saan nagmumula ang sperm cell? Yan. So, testes and father. Ang testosterone ay hormone. So, hindi siya yung pinagagaling. Ang hormone, yan nanggagaling din yan sa gonads, no? Ang sagot ng iba ay sa male or sa father. Ano yun? Tinudura ba yun? Yan ay nanggagaling sa testes or testes or testicles. At karamihan sa mga tao, ang akala nila, yung testes or testicles, yun yung itlog. No, hindi yun ang itlog. Ang may itlog ay ang babae. Di ba? Yung egg cell. Okay? At yung testicles, hindi yan isang buong oval. Ito ay binubuo ng parang maliliit na tubo. Yung tinatawag natin na seminiferous tubules. Doon pinoproduce yung mga sperm cells. Okay? So parang yarn siyang nakabalumbon. No? Para yan. At ang testes or testicles ay supported ng tinatawag natin na scrotum. No, yung scrotum naman, yan naman yung responsible sa pag-protect doon sa ating testicles. No, kaya siya nakalawlaw dahil sa dapat ay ma-maintain niya yung sarili niyang temperature. Di ba? Kapag nakadikit yan sa katawan natin, tataas yung temperature. That may cause the death of many sperm cells. Okay, kaya naman pag malamig, nakadikit naman yan kasi nga kailangan na ma-maintain din yung kanyang temperature. Okay? Kaya kapag lalaki mahilig mag tight jeans, so tumataas yung temperature ng testicles, bumababa yung production ng sperm cell. Okay? Saan naman galing ang egg cell? Type in your answers. Sa ovaries, no? Dalawa. Sa ovaries, no? Sa ovaries yan galing. Yan nanggaling yung egg cell. Ano ang tawag doon sa proseso ng paglabas ng egg cell mula sa ovaries? Anyone? Yon, tama naman si McReven. No? Ovulation. The process of excreting of egg cell. No? Now, gaano kadaming sperm cell ang inilalabas ng lalaki during sexual intercourse? How many sperm cell? Okay. Anong figure? Specific figure. It's millions, yes, pero specific figure tayo. Or range. Gaano kadami yung range? 3 million? 400 million? 2 million? Okay, so ang pinakamalapit na sagot ay kay Rome, no? Approximately every excretion, no, ng sperm cell, maabot siya ng 250 million to 300 millions of sperm cell. Ganong kadaming sperm cell ang kailangan. Pero sa millions na yon, isa lang ang makakapag-penetrate sa egg cell. Okay? In fact, during ejaculation, sa katawan pa lang ng lalaki, 50 million na yung mamamatay. Ganon ka-sensitive ang sperm cell. Tapos pagpasok pa sa loob ng babae, acidic yung environment, meron pang river flow structures na tumutulak sa kanya kasi siya ay considered na threat. No? Dahil sa anything that comes in is considered as a threat. So medyo kailangan talaga niyang makasurvive. No? And pag-akyat nila doon sa uterus, mamimili pa sila kung saan fallopian tube sila pupunta. Pag napunta sila doon sa fallopian tube na wala naman doon yung egg cell, mamamatay na lang sila and then they will just be absorbed by the body. Pero pag doon sila sa may egg cell, meron silang chance to fertilize the egg. At pag na-fertilize na yung egg, ayan na. So magkakaroon na ng tinatawag natin na fertilization. I'm going to show you a video. Nasaan na yung aking video? This video will help us to understand the process of masyadong malakas ang sound. Okay, pa-heart react nga if you can see it and if you can hear it. Okay, thank you very much for those who reacted. So during this time, pagpasok ng mga sperm cell, ganyan sila kadami. Okay, so yan
May audio po ba? Excuse me po. May audio po ba, sir?
Come again?
May audio po.
Ano lang,
Wala.
hinang tugtog lang siya.
Okay po. Sige po. Thank you po.
Ayan, so pag penetrate, ng isa lang ang makakapasok, Alaalang nagbabalik ba? Alaalang nagbabalik. So ito yung mga itsura ninyo. Natin. Tayo ay nasa sinagogo. Ayun. So natapos na yung alaalang nagbabalik. Okay, so that is um, the process of human reproduction in 4 minutes. No? I'm going to show you, I'm going to post the link naman para maparod nyo in details kung ano yung nangyayari, no, sa baby. It is very important for us to understand this because ang daming mga pinagdadaanan. No? That's how important our life is. Ang daming struggle mula pa lang sa sperm at sa egg cell. No, ang dami ng challenges. Kaya tayo, sanay na tayo sa mga challenges na yan. At lahat naman ng mga yan ay na-overcome naman natin. Kaya nga, andito pa rin tayo. No? So meron tayong 3 gestational period o yung tinatawag natin na gestation period. Ng first 2 weeks of life, yung tinatawag na germinal stage. And then, yung second week to 8 to 12 weeks of life, yan naman yung embryonic stage or the period of embryo. No? And then yung third stage is the fetal stage from 8 to 12 weeks to birth. Okay, so yung 3 stages. And after fertilization, merong 3 structure na madedevelop din. Una, yung tinatawag natin na placenta. Then we have the umbilical cord and then the amniotic sac kung saan tayo naka-house. Okay, at sa loob nun, may fluid, no, yung tinatawag natin na amniotic fluid, na the same lang yung salt content nito sa seawater. Okay? So, ganoon lang din siya kaalam. Yan. And then after 9 months, nakita niyo naman kung paano inilabas yung baby. And it's really difficult. No? Ang hirap manganak. Hirap na hirap ako manganak. Ayan. So, ganun yung mga struggles ng mga mothers natin, lalo na sa atin. Now, gene is the unit carrier of heredity, and genes alone can determine the sex of the fertilized egg. Yung genome, collection of genetic information. Yung DNA is the nucleic acid that contains the genetic instruction. So, ang DNA nasa loob ng gene. Okay? And then kanina, binabanggit natin yung genotype and phenotype. Genotype is the part of DNA sequence of the genetic makeup of a cell which determines specific characteristics. At yung expression ng characteristics na yun ay tinatawag na phenotype. Now, my question is, kayo ba ay tinuruan kung paano maglakad? Yes or no? Were you taught how to walk? Okay. So, yes po. Di ko po alam. No. Yes. Parang yes na rin. Okay, yes po. Okay, actually, we were not taught how to walk. Okay? When during tayo bilang mga individual, it's our nature to walk. Bahagi ng pagiging tao natin yung paglalakad. In the same manner, kung ang mga isda, pagka alis nila sa itlog, nakakalangoy sila agad, nature kasi nila yon. Tayo naman, nature naman natin yung paglalakad. So we were not taught, we did not learn how to walk, but we walk because we matured. Now imagine, kung ang nanay mo ay kumuha ng teacher from Harvard University College of Walking at pinaturuan ka, pakituruan nga itong anak ko maglakad, 6 months old ka pa lang. Kahit na anong galing ng teacher, hindi ka makakapaglakad because your body, your bones, your muscles are not ready for it yet. Hindi pa mature. So, the same thing with our language, how we talk. No? Pagkapanganak pa lang sa atin, we are already expressing how we feel through language, no? Yung crying. No, ang itinuro sa atin is yung language. Pero yung ating ability to talk, it's inherent na yan. Okay? Yan. Since that's part of our nature, being an individual. Okay? So we matured kaya tayo nakapaglakad at nakatakbo. We matured kaya tayo nakapagsalita. Ang language, yun yung itinuturo sa atin. Like, no, ang native language natin na marami sa atin ay Filipino, pero we were taught how to speak in English. Di ba? We were even taught how to speak in Filipino. Pero we can talk. Pero yung language, yun yung itinuturo din sa atin. Okay, so that's part of our maturation or maturity. While our genetic information determines the extent of our physical feature, it is not the only factor that influence our physical self. So ito na yung sagot sa tanong kanina. No? As we grew up, we are exposed to environmental influences that shape our physical self. Halimbawa, sa ibang mga kultura, yung sinusugatan nila yung mga mukha nila. Para paglaki nila, parang marka na yon ng tapang, marka na yon ng status sa buhay. So as we grow up, we are exposed to environmental influences that shape our physical self, including those from our social network, societal expectation, and cultural practices. Okay? Kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng ganun. Yan. So, do you have question with regards to yung discuss natin human development? Any question with regards to the topic that we have discussed? Wala naman. So, I'm sure marino sa inyo yun at kahit pa paano ay in senior high school na-discuss na rin naman na yan. No? Ayan. So, lahat ba paki-heart nga yung mga wala pa ring libro hanggang ngayon. Hindi pa dumating yung in-order nila. Okay, so wala na. So lahat kayo ay on Wednesday, we will still have our class. And then on Friday, meron tayong assessment or quiz. Okay? Maliit lang naman na percentage yun. Kaya reviewin nyo lang yung mga diniscript, panoorin nyo lang ulit yung mga videos natin. Ganun lang din siya kadali. No? It's just multiple choice and true or false. So kaya nyo siyang ipasa. That will be on Friday. But on Wednesday, we'll continue discussing about about this topic, na including yung ating sexuality. And on Wednesday, we'll have our quiz. Short lang nun siya. No? And just an exercise para alam nyo din kung ano yung magiging part ng assessment natin on Friday. Okay, so we will have our quiz on Wednesday before we start our class. Any other questions?
Sir,
Yes?
okay, sir, good afternoon po. Paano po pala sa module 1 po? September 15 po, di ba?
Yeah.
Yung pasan po. Kasi po,
15.
yung pag-check ko po kasi sa may grade po, nakalagay po na deadline September 8 po.
I think nabago ko na yan.
Okay po. Okay po, thank you. Okay po.
Any other? Konti lang yan, siguro mga 10 items lang. So Friday, siguro mga 40 items lang. Okay?
Hey, sir.
Go, James.
Tanong ko lang po yung pwede po digitally yung drawing or
Yeah,
hand?
it's up to you, no?
Okay.
Pwedeng freehand, pwede naman digital. Kung hindi kayo marunong talaga mag-drawing, pwedeng you can look at pictures to represent who you are. Yun lang naman yung purpose ng diba?
Sige po, sir.
Importante,
Thank you
meron
po.
tayong figure. Any others?